Hi, my name is Daniel Parzivand. Today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about internet-based leads and the life cycle of one. In my tenure here at SetSchedule, I've learned a couple of tips and tricks that you can use when connecting to cold internet-based leads. In my opinion, most real estate agents actually tend to fail to capture the engagement of an internet-based lead simply because they're trying to replicate what they do with their sphere of influence leads with the cold-based leads. Unfortunately, it's not going to work because the biggest variable, comfort level, is existent in your sphere of influence-based lead, but not in your internet-based lead. You've never even spoken to the person. The person doesn't know your number, doesn't know your name. So how can you expect that by just giving a call once or twice or sending an email that you're going to be able to capture your prospective client's engagement? You're not. So where we need to kind of pivot is understanding that the mindset that you have with a sphere of influence is not going to work, right? That's point one. When we have that point, from there we need to continue on by understanding, okay, if I have to have more comfort, if I have to create a much higher level of engagement of comfort with a internet cold-based lead that I've never spoken to, more than likely, step one is quality or quantity, right? In our case, it's going to be both. So quantity of the number of times that you have to try to connect and engage with that prospective clients is going to go up. So I love this analogy. This actually came from the CEO of SetSchedule, Roy himself. He goes, look, you have to have people in the mode. Prospective clients have to be in the mode. So you've got us here as real estate agents, and then you've got your home shopper, right? Your prospective client here. If we go and, I'm on this level and they're on this level, we're going to miss each other, right? Vice versa, we're going to miss each other. So what does that mean? It means we have to try to connect as many times as we can until we actually both are sitting in the mode. We're able to call and they're ready to answer our call. Now, that goes to the 9 touch points in your first 7 days, okay? As a cold internet-based lead, we highly recommend, or for what I've seen, again, best practice is you want to have at least 9 different touch points in the first 7 days. That's your kind of like your first pipeline. The first 7 days, if you're able to engage with them, we're actually 5 times more likely to capture their business when they're ready to move forward. Okay, but let's assume that we can't capture we can't get them in the first 7 days. You now have to have what we call a 30-day base. I like to call it 30 days of contact. Okay. Your first 30 days are going to be basically week-to-week contacts. You're going to maybe in your first 7 days try to connect 9 times. In the second week, you might try to do 2 times. In the third week, you might try to do once. And in the fourth week, you might want to do another one, right? But during those first 30 days, you want to be connecting at least 3 times throughout 3 times per week throughout the month. After that, we can talk about the next 6 months and 9 months when we'll get there. Okay. But let's talk about that first month. One of the most important things that real estate agents don't realize is text and emails and phone calls all need to be sent out. Generally what we do is we send a call for day one. They didn't answer, so I'll give them a couple days and call them back. No! If you call in the morning, you call again in the evening. If you call in the evening, you call in the morning. What does that allow us to do? That allows us to determine what time is best for us to actually engage with that home shopper, right? That prospective client. If I generally tend to catch them in the morning, I'm going to pivot my communication around them in the morning. Another tip, text before you call. Real quick wiki text. Hey, this is Daniel Parzivand from whatever brokerage. I'm going to give you a call in a couple minutes. I got your information. I wanted to talk to you about your real estate needs. Look forward to speaking to you. Guess what that's going to do? They're going to have your number when they call you. So they're going to say, oh yeah, this is the real estate agent that just called me or just texted me, right? So I highly recommend that you try to text before as your first initial intro to who you are, and also when you send an email, right? That could be a lot more. The initial email can be all your decorations and the properties that you sold and all that fun stuff. But your first initial contact as a text message should be wiki fast, in my opinion. So we're now also in an industry where speed is the game. You've got your Instagram, you've got your TikToks, you've got your Twitter. You used to be in Facebook, you can write a paragraph and people will read it. Now, unless it's a 2-line in Facebook, who's going to read it? Email, in my opinion, is probably the one that people are going to get to last. You're going to have the least amount of open rate only because you're probably not checking your email on a daily basis. And if you do, you're going to see, a new email from someone you've never spoken to, and you're probably going to swipe, take the banner off, and you're not even going to open it right until you get home later that night. In my opinion, text messages are probably the best. Generally, if you get even a 1% open rate, 1.5% open rate, 2% open rate on emails, you're doing a great job. Probably about 25 to 30% of the text messages you send out will be read. okay, which is much better rate. But that's why it's so important that you have the 9 touch points in the first 7 days to allow yourself the highest possibility in order to actually engage and get them on the phone. So that's, again, kind of that cycle. Now, going back, I guess, we have to talk about that in general, the life cycle of a lead is, as a cold lead, internet-based lead, is generally about a year. Okay? What do I mean by that? Your first 3 months are probably just getting in touch with that prospective client. Your next 3 months are nurturing them and getting them to trust you. And that's when you're probably going to actually start to have serious conversations, which again takes anywhere from 3 months to 6 months after they've made that statement of, I want to sell or I want to buy, before we're, working in that escrow process. So that's generally where you get that 6 to 12 month kind of timeline. Of course, every once in a while, you're going to get that one lead that's like, I'm ready to go tomorrow. Let's make this happen now. But we're not working off of luck here. We're working off of data, right? We're working off of large numbers. So it's very important that we keep in mind that when it comes to the internet-based lead, again, on average, you're going to see probably about a 6%, 5 to 6% on the high-end conversion rate, on the low-end 2 to 3%. Okay, that's where you get your average of 3 to 4%, in your general lead generation campaigns, cold lead generation campaigns. Again, back to the life cycle. We've talked about the 1 month. And in my opinion, the 1 to 3 months is very similar if you haven't gotten in contact with that home shopper, or the prospective interest, meaning after that 1 month, you're probably going to have maybe 2 or 3 touch points per month with that prospect. After your 3 months, the next 3 months might be 1 or 2 again, and then after that 6 month mark, that's when you kind of throw them into a email campaign, drip campaign. They're getting an email once a month. In my opinion, you need to have at least, at minimum, 3 month follow-up drip campaign for your internet-based clients. Now, let's talk about what happens when you do connect with that home shopper, right? Because that's just as important, that prospective client. Again, it's also very different than your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is probably not talking to 4 or 5 different agents. And if they are, you better believe they're talking to 4 or 5 other agents within their own sphere of influence. So they, again, comfort level. So when you do get in front of a prospective client that doesn't know you, you want to spend the first 10 minutes just getting to know them. Ask them questions about their personal life. Ask them questions about their intentions, their motivation. Why are you buying or selling? Ask them emotional-based questions about what they like about their property, right? Because if they're looking to move because they have to grow their family, they had another child and 2 bedrooms is no longer enough, they need 3. I'd want to know, what do they enjoy most about their property, so that when I find the next property, they can have that same emotional attachment that they had. So understanding the emotional-based questions is going to get them to feel as comfortable with you a lot sooner than you would expect. But it doesn't end there, because that's just your first connection with them. You want to make sure that you're following up as often as possible without bombarding them. Now, it's important for you to ask them their timeline. And based on their timeline, I'd drop it probably about 3/4 of what they say they're going to do and set your business plan, your follow-up plan based on that. What do I mean by that? If a client is telling me that they want to sell in the next year, I'm going to consider the fact that they're going to be selling in the next 9 months. Why? Because that shortens my period of time in which I can nurture in order to get to it, which means I'm going to have more touch points than somebody who might be building the same business plan or the nurturing plan with a 1-year period. In other words, I'm beating out my competition because I have more touch points than my competitors do. My name is Daniel. Thank you for joining me here today. I look forward to receiving feedback and possible other videos that you guys would be interested in. To do so, just email us at media@setschedule.com. Again, media, MEDIA @setschedule.com. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.